Hi, it's Dr. Layla, and today I'd like to talk to you about anger and different ways of expressing anger. Anger is one of the basic human emotions, and so it's got a purpose, it's there for a reason, and it's very necessary for us to fight against predators, to stand up for what's right, and to defend ourselves and our loved ones when we need to. But people are often very afraid of anger. They feel uncomfortable with it because it can be a very powerful emotion, and so they tend to respond in different ways, some of which are much more productive and some are quite destructive. Firstly, if we just consider direct aggressive anger. We all know people who seem to have no problem at all in letting everybody know to let rip when they're really angry. They shout, they throw themselves around. Something that triggers their rage actually enables them to completely fly off the handle. They can give way to intense fury, shouting, swearing, throwing things, maybe even sometimes becoming physically abusive, even becoming violent towards other people. Now, these people aren't always like that. They can be very charming and they can be very good-humoured. And something then just suddenly triggers their rage and they can be very unpredictable, which characterises them in this way, and it makes them quite scary to other people because you just don't quite know what's going to happen. And also their anger is often out of all proportion to what's actually happened. So this kind of anger is very scary to other people, quite rightly, who've been on the receiving end of that bullying, aggressive behaviour. Now, the second type of open, direct aggression or anger, if you like, is a very different style. It's what I call grumpy anger. Now, some people don't show their anger in that dramatic, loud way, but they tend to be irritable and grumpy for much of the time. Chronic grumpiness. They always seem to be in a bad mood, and you can often recognise that by their facial expressions and body language, the continual scowl, the downturned mouth, the defensive posture. And these people find it very hard to relax and enjoy themselves and just have fun with other people. They can be great fault finders, always finding something that they can criticise or put down in other people. Now, the third type of anger is different because it doesn't show quite so overtly. In fact, it starts to withdraw. And this type of person I'm going to refer to as sulky anger. They give you the cold shoulder. They won't talk to you, the cold, silent treatment. And this is a very manipulative way and indirect way of letting someone know that you're angry, particularly if the person refuses to tell you what they're angry about, what they're annoyed about. You're supposed to know what's bothering them. You're supposed to mind read them. Now, this form of anger is very common amongst people who don't really know very well how to express their feelings or to ask for what they want. The fourth type is denial. Basically, not admitting that you're angry at all. And that's often because people find it to be a very difficult or unacceptable emotion, especially if they're people who are supposed to be in caring roles. Women often are not expected to be angry or to get upset in that way. And so the person who's in denial often is angry but behind gritted teeth or with a fixed smile that actually lets you know very much that you're not happy with what's going on. And they tend to put this brave face on things and to try and hide their feelings, or they may use displacement activity and rush around in a burst of activity to cover up what they're actually feeling. Some people who are also in denial but are more passive in their style, and this type of person tends to turn their anger in on themselves, and that can be very harmful because it can become depressed, they can become very unhappy and withdrawn, and also that anger can become manifested as physical illness because of the bad feelings being held inside and festering away. Of course, there's a risk that denying anger and bottling it up can also eventually cause the build-up of an unbearable pressure. And if that's not addressed, then sometimes something very small can actually trigger it, and there's an explosive outburst from someone that you never expected to see that from. So we fear expressing anger often because we've seen it can be destructive, and we know what it's like when someone loses control. They're at the mercy of this unpredictable and powerful emotion, and that can lead to physical harm even to themselves or to others. So there are assertive and more constructive ways of dealing with anger, which I'll talk about another time. For now, I'd like to leave you with the thought, what sort of angry style do you have? And who do you identify with, from the direct, angry, aggressive person, the grumpy person, the sulky person, or the person in denial? Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon.